The government seem to have this approach of reacting to a crisis instead of proactive planning to address the issues. And there's been quite a lot of discussion on securing appropriate school placements here. And it just beggars belief why this happens year after year, why there are insufficient school places for children. You have children going to a preschool. They go there for 2 years, sometimes 3. They're in the AIMS programme, so it's identified already that they have additional needs and that they need support. There needs to be better communication between the preschools and the primary schools, and we need to see the NCSE actually engaging with parents and with the preschools at that stage, and able to advise then on an appropriate school placement in the child's community. And that when the child goes to primary school, if they're lucky enough to get an appropriate school placement in their community, they spend 8 years in that placement. The teacher, the principal and the teachers in that school know precisely what that child's needs are and what supports they require. And again, they have 8 years to ensure that there's an appropriate post-primary school place in the community for that child. And yet we come every August and we hear from distraught parents who've applied to up to 20 schools to be refused after refusal, no appropriate school placement. Or they're being bussed miles away to find a placement. It's not fair on the child and it's not fair on the families. So the NCSE, if they should be dealing with this, I don't know if it's a case of under-resourcement. We need more CNOs perhaps to engage with all of the different families with the children who have additional needs. When I was teaching, I used to engage with a CNO, and she knew every child within her catchment area. She was regularly in contact with their families. The families had her phone number. They could lift the phone and talk to her. I talk to parents all the time, and I say to them, well, have you been in touch with your CNO? And they tell me, what's that? They don't know what a CNO is, or they have no contact. That's not good enough. I mean, we need much better communication between all the different aspects of education and with the NCSE, and then obviously with the parents. Prior to progressing disabilities being introduced, special schools had therapists attached to the schools. And it was so beneficial because not only were the therapists dealing with and helping the children, the staff in the schools were learning from the therapists and the different approaches they were taking to dealing with the children. Those therapists were withdrawn. In some cases, they've been returned. And it just beggars belief why you need a pilot programme in special schools when they did exist at one time. And I mean, the benefits are unquestionable, and we need to see therapists back in schools. In fact, we need to see them not just in the special schools, but in our mainstream schools. And there was a very good pilot programme run in, I think it was CHO7, called a School Inclusion Model. It seemed to have worked very well. The therapists were put into the schools to work with them. I don't know if a proper evaluation of that pilot has been carried out, and if so, has it been extended? I think there were plans to extend it, but I think it's a model that needs to be extended to all of our schools, especially the schools which have autism classes or special classes attached to them to support the students in those settings. The CDNTs, I mean, it's not a week goes past that I don't have a contact from a parent around engagement with a CDNT. In Cavan, the CDNT has a vacancy rate of 60%. In Monaghan, it's 40%. I think overall it's over 30% if we take the whole country. And therapists are leaving because it's just a horrible place to work, because they're not getting to do their actual job within the CDNT, because they're constantly dealing with, and they don't blame them, irate parents coming to them looking for services for their child or looking for an assessment of needs. So we've almost 10,000 children who are overdue an assessment of needs at this stage. We've over 9,000 children who are waiting for their initial contact with the CDNT. I mean, this is a crisis point and needs to be addressed. So what we have are therapists leaving the CDNTs and going into private practice, and then the HSE are paying them big money to carry out private assessments. It doesn't make any sense. They should be working within the public sector. So why are they not? So we need to address that point. Is it pay, the Section 39 pay? Parity still hasn't been addressed. I'm not saying that's the only issue, it's one of them. Conditions within the CDNTs is another, proper support. I mean, I had a parent in contact with me this week. When her child was 18 months, she requested an assessment. She still hasn't received that assessment. The child is now 4. That's not fair, and I realise I'm going over my time. So this needs to be addressed, and I fully support the motion.